Hey everyone, it's Judy with Talk to Me Tuesday. It is Wednesday, June the 3rd. I hope everyone's had a wonderful week. So, over the weekend, I did work on a couple of quilts, but today they're starting to release the patterns for my Tomb Raider quilt. So, I thought I'd take a minute and talk about that real quick. So, I've worked on the Tomb Raider. I started designing in late last year, and it's one of those quilts that I had planned on making or always wanted to make, and then finally I just dove in and got it done. And so the first test run I made one crucial mistake while printing out the patterns. Um, I used different printers, and so each one of my patterns, the size of it was just slightly off, but I managed to make it work. Once I realized when I actually started putting the pieces together is when I realized that I had made the mistake. And the biggest issue is when I printed off of one printer, those ended up just slightly smaller. So I had to put a little bit of extra seam allowance on it in order to make it work. But so my first test run, I used camo fabric, which actually is my favorite. I really think that the Tomb Raider quilt and camo fabric absolutely works. Jennifer R. Quilted both of these quilts for me. And don't know how well that's going to come out, but this is by far, hold on, one of my favorite patterns. Her swinging. And the quilt itself is 70 by 80 finished. These right here are Jennifer O's patterns. I did reach out to her while I was still in the designing phase to get her permission to use her patterns. They're basically identical. So this right here is the second test run, which I made sure to only use the one printer. So all the patterns turned out perfectly fine. And of course it went a little bit better because as I made this one, I kind of fine tuned the patterns. Let me see. This pattern right here, I actually made a couple of times because the seams were just too heavy, and it still got some heavy seams on it, but the new version is better. Also, this one right here, it's just a very simple pattern, the Trinity pattern. The first one I made was very, very detailed, and it had way too many seams. So when I remade it, I decided to tone it down also. But the Tomb Raider logo, I've actually had it done. I designed it probably a couple of years ago, and I never did anything with it. So I was ready to see it through, and I love it, absolutely love it. And but this is the second run. I was very careful, like I said, about using the correct printer. I had already made quite a bit of edits to my patterns by the time I made the second quilt. It's one little thing I did differently on the two quilts, on the quilt corners. So the first one I used for my Stargate quilt, the Eye of Ra in the corner piece, and this pattern is actually in there a couple of times, different way, but I used the Eye of Ra in the first quilt. On the second one, if you notice, this little corner right here is a spider, and that spider pattern is from the Hocus Pocus quilt along. But spiders and Tomb Raider, it works. So instead of putting the Eye of Ra in the corner on it, I put the spider on the second one. Of course, the second run went really easy. I didn't have to focus so much on the patterns. I already knew that I had pretty much found all of the errors that that needed to be fixed the first time around. So Jennifer R did an amazing job on the quilting. On the first one, we did like a leaf and kind of a tree leaf feel to it. And on the second one, or on this one right here, I'll see if I can find a picture where y'all can see the quilting. She did an amazing job. Um, but on the second one, we did spider webs. And I love them both, but I don't know, the spider webs just really, really popped, especially against the brown fabrics. It really, really popped. She always knows what I want. I do think the spider webs popped a little bit more against that brown fabric. And I hope everyone loves the Tomb Raider quilt along. Today they're going to start releasing the pattern, so I'm super excited about that. Anyways, so over the weekend, that's enough about my Tomb Raider quilt. Over the weekend, I had made this quilt. I had made this quilt last year, but I never quilted it up. And so over the weekend, I quilted it up. I finished the binding on this quilt. And then once I finished the binding on this quilt, I went ahead and quilted this. So anyways, that's all I've got going on, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.